It is TAW Unwrapped, sponsored by NordVPN. Get our exclusive NordVPN deal at nordvpn.com/TAW. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. If you go for the 2-year plan, you'll get 6 months for free to browse the internet with that extra peace of mind and the ability to change your virtual location so you can access geolock content, which can allegedly be used for things like Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs, but you didn't hear that here from us. Josh Sexton here with Neil Atkinson, Keifer McDonald and Adam Melia. We wanted to have a bit of fun today because there's a lot of doom and gloom around Liverpool at the moment, it's fair to say. Me and Neil had a heavier agenda planned, but we may just save that for a rainier day than today is.
Or a brighter day.
Yeah, potentially a day when we feel like it should be raining inside instead. So we're going to do some Premier League Alternative Season Awards. So I sent the list to you lads last night. I've seen some of you furiously scribbling, Keifer, just before I started there. No grasses here, but yeah. So we'll work our way through these. So we're going to do Player of the Season, actual young Player of the Season, so not a 24-year-old in a wig, Sleeper Hit of the Season, Sausage of the Season, Gary McAllister of the Season, Biggest Rake Step of the Season, the Mick McCarthy at Can Moment of the Season, and the winner of the Vibes League, brought to you, of course, by the John Gibbons blog. So I'll explain all those as we go through. We're going to work from bottom to top. So we'll start with the winner of the Vibes League, brought to you by the John Gibbons blog, which is the team it's been the most enjoyable, chaotic, or emotionally engaging to follow, regardless of actual results. So, Neil, start with you, or winner of the Vibes League.
Well, I've got a couple of nominees for us to work through. First and foremost, I just want to commend the John Gibbons blog on another excellent year of blogging. From start to finish, I think
it's one of my favourite blogs.
Yeah, he's really nailed it over the course of the 12 months, and I think it's important. So I'm pleased that they've got some budget to be able to sponsor an award as prestigious as this.
There's so many blogs, isn't there? There's so many blogs to choose from, and he really manages year after year to be right up there.
To surpass every expectation that you've got for him, the John Gibbons blog. So I think there's three contenders, and then there's like a joint contender. So this is the one that I think remains time sensitive. So I think for the Vibes League, we've had a ball, really, not all been highs. I think Bournemouth just look like it's so much fun all the time. I think Leeds, whether I like it or not, genuinely cup semi-final, felt like relegation was always very viable, and in the end I've sort of really powered through that, and a lot of big home wins as part of that journey. Winning at Old Trafford, if you're Leeds United, absolutely huge. A couple of other big wins along the way.
I picked Leeds.
You picked Leeds.
Yeah.
Sunderland, home and away wins against Newcastle. Everyone thought you were going to go down. And my joint one, and it literally is, if either of them win the Europa League, or even maybe just get to the Europa League final, is Villa or Forest. Forest's season's insane. They now look like the best team in Europe. No one knows why.
I really like him, Vitor Pereira. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so he might be the perfect manager of a football club for 20 games.
Yeah.
The best on the planet.
Yeah.
Well, better than Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp needs 7 years.
He'd have been a great Watford manager for that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Javi Gracia bounce that they've used about 3 times.
Dragged them to the final.
Has he not been Watford manager?
He must have.
Not yet.
He probably has.
I genuinely thought he was one of their managers.
One of their lads.
Through the revolving door.
So it's Villa or Forest. So they're my 4 contenders. So I don't know what everyone else thinks, but they were I would say Villa and Forest amalgamated into one, and the other 3, I think, Bournemouth, Leeds and Sunderland.
So I've gone one just outside of these, Keifer. I don't know if you were going to go for the same. I've gone for Brentford, because I think given the start of the season and like losing Thomas Frank and all that, they've probably been the ones who've had the most consistent vibes throughout the season. I want to say in the sense that like it was steady coming out the gate. They weren't like tearing up any trees, but Keith Andrews was quietly getting a few wins here and there, and it feels like they've just been on that consistent path where a lot of your teams have had real troughs at points as well. Like even Villa in the league at the moment, you could argue is a bit of a trough, albeit with the sort of sideshow or main show of the Europa League going on, the Premier League becoming a sideshow. So I've gone for Brentford. Have you got any advance on that, Keifer?
Yeah, I went for Forest. Just as soon as I saw the word chaotic, I thought that kind of encapsulates Forest's season, doesn't it? I think to go through 3 managers and what did Postecoglou do there? Was it like 30 days or something?
Yeah,
something ridiculous. I just think it's kind of where they have been, and for so much of the season it looked like they were going down, and now obviously the win last night against Chelsea, they're practically safe from relegation. They could end up playing in the Champions League next season. It's just insane, isn't it? I mean, I think since they came up to the Premier League in 2022, Forest have been quite a mad club just in terms of like the spending. Obviously, we know the owner's just a bit mad as well. Not a bit mad, he is absolutely bonkers, isn't he? But yeah, I think the way it's turned out for Forest is I mean, I think you'd struggle to find it if they win the Europa League. I think you'd struggle to find a team in the Premier League who's probably had a better season than them in terms of like achieving their aims and objectives and where they want to be for next season. So I think as soon as I saw the word chaotic, I thought perfect fit for Forest.
I'm really excited for that game on Thursday as well because I think that could be chaotic. It feels like if Emery goes in to Europa League second leg with any kind of like there's a chance here he'll make an absolute meal of it to make sure they get through. Like it'll be like 4-3 to Villa or something that game.
He was fuming, wasn't he, after the first leg as well? And, like, he's normally so calm and composed, but I think
it's probably some VAR.
yeah, but he just seems like he's just absolutely. I mean, he loves the Europa League, doesn't he? So like, I'm sure there'll be like plenty of needle in that as well.
I think it's been among other things a season for the horrible. So my two picks were Forest and Leeds because there's a lot of horrible about them. They're not clubs I like. So I mean, this is a slightly biased opinion that but there is some horribleness. I think they wouldn't mind me saying they are two clubs that embrace the horrible. In terms of the fan base, you know, they're hostile places to go.
They do not want to be liked by us.
No, they don't want to be liked by us. They don't like us. We don't like them. And it's been a bad season for our side of things. So I felt that some of these awards, for the positive awards, should go to bad people because it's been a bad season. So yeah, good things for bad people this season. Which is why, everything that Keifer's just said about Forest is what I was thinking about them. It's funny because since they've come back up, it's almost like they've wanted to come back up for so long, and you can kind of see why it's like that kind of force of will you get from their fans of just like, no, we do think we want to be here. It annoys me so much when you get teams, especially Leicester's the one I always think of. Leicester, when they've been in relegation battles with Everton, for example. It's not just for example, literally Everton. They don't seem bothered about staying in the league, whereas the Blues obviously do. And I think you get that from Forest as well, and you also get that from Leeds. So yeah, those are the two where I think the vibes league, it might not be kind of like disco dancing vibes, but there's like, just a huge firm of monsters screaming at you. It's been that sort of season. So it's the winner of the vibes league in a monstrous season should be won by some monsters.
It feels like Leicester could be the underwriters for a load of these awards as well, having now officially a League One team next season.
Yes, I don't want to get stuck in that. I want to stick with the Premier League, but it did occur to me, like in a load of these negative awards, someone attached to Leicester City could end up getting dragged in. Listen, I've heard. I think it does depend on what happens on Thursday night, but I'm happy to say Forest if I think Keifer's made his arguments. Should we say Forest?
Yeah, we'll go with a joint decision of Nottingham Forest, and congratulations to. I always forget the owner's name because I think the Ange Postecoglou Greekness of all that was where I actually forgot it. Was it Mavropanos? No,
Mavropanos plays centre half for West Ham.
Lad, isn't he? Yeah.
Just naming Greeks. I do have some Greek heritage.
Marinakis, that's it. Yeah.
Marinakis,
I feel like there was some sort of like Greek mob family situation going on there between him and Ange Postecoglou, but Ange was sleeping with the fishes after about 30 days, as Keifer said. So we'll move on to hopefully bad things happening to bad people with this award rather than good things happening to the bad people with the Mick McCarthy it can moment of the season. So this is when a player or team seems to have hit absolute rock bottom and immediately proves it can in fact get worse. So I think we're probably all going to have fairly similar answers for this. So I'll just start on this one and say that Tottenham Hotspur sacking Igor Tudor and then losing to Sunderland was my Mick McCarthy it can moment of the season. It could just be a loose sort of interpretation of different Tottenham moments here, but
yeah, I'm keeping Tudor in my back pocket for a future award. This is the only award I have written a Liverpool player's name down for because of Alexander Isak.
Right.
Up to and including this weekend. That's just gone. When you thought, and the big thing to look forward to going to Old Trafford was, we'll get to see more of Isak. His movements looked increasingly bright. He's the linchpin of the attack. You can see how it's going to work. You're beginning to get there. And then you find out, no, we've actually just got no forwards. And Isak, I'm not saying Isak should win this, but all year, gets himself ready. Looks like he could be the part. Setback. Gets himself ready. Begins to look like a good touch at Chelsea to set up Gakpo for the goal. Setback. Good touch. Getting himself back in. Scores at West Ham. Liverpool change a lot of things. Plays it into Milan. Isak's beginning to look like a live proposition. Literally in the act of kicking the ball in the goal from a Florian Wirtz assist at Tottenham, gets his leg broken. Kicking the ball in the goal from a Florian Wirtz through ball. And so any time it feels as though Isak could have hit rock bottom, nope. There's another rock bottom. And as I say, this weekend almost becomes another one in a bit of a mad way. I've got him. I think there's also a really mean one, like Isaac's a mean one, on Xavi Simons, who
Oh yes, yeah.
who I think it's like he's gone for 65 million. He's meant to be, whether or not you think he's good, his reputation is he's the silky playmaker number 10 type. He's going to Tottenham. They love all that. And then he signs for Thomas fucking Frank, who is going to block his way to minor success. Can't score a goal. Tottenham are absolutely appalling. There's moments where he looks like he can't believe what he signed up to in the Premier League. Adam's point about the league's full of monsters. He does not suit the monsters.
No.
Finally gets the goal. As genuinely looks like he cares. Big emotional moment. Gets taken off him. Picture crying. And then, in the run-up to a World Cup, does his ACL. Could next season still be in the Championship because he can't get a move in the summer because he's done his ACL. So next season, Xavi Simons could be playing Championship football. Other players will get moved from Tottenham. Siemens cannot get a move.
Can you pass a medical if you've done your ACL?
I just don't think you can. If who'd insure the player? True. So you just in this situation.
I'm wondering if we could get him for like 10 million. Just have him as like the new Harvey Elliott, like right at the back of the bench.
Unbelievable. So I think Siemens, and it does feel dead mean, honestly, but the look the poor lad's had, it can always get worse for Xavi Siemens. I think there's a bit of a shout for Eddie Howe, who all the way through the year probably thought, we're getting over the worst of this now. And every single time it feels like it's got worse and he's probably not going to have a job. And then my other shout's Chelsea, who have very much at every single moment gone, no, we can excavate this even more. Come into this weekend even. You know, they've got a decent result there against Leeds with the youth coach. And then they just get murdered at home against Nottingham Forest, and there's tons of empty seats.
That was my pick. When a player or team seems to have hit absolute rock bottom and it immediately proves it can in fact get worse, it can, says Mick McCarthy. That to me just said Chelsea. You know, every single time, and it has links to us as well, hasn't it? Every single time we think, surely now it's over for us. Then Chelsea seem to play an hour later and just are worse. You know, it's really deflected a lot of stuff away from us. That's been the story of this season for
their biggest win of the season might be that they sacked Rosenior while he was still in his probation, because everyone was sort of touting around that 24 million figure, weren't they, saying like, oh, they'll have to pay that off in his contract, but luckily they had this little 6-month probation that they backdoored him with.
Say what you like about Chelsea, they don't mind sacking managers. and sometimes sacking a manager quickly is a good idea. So yeah, they to me,
well, they didn't like Maresca, and then it got worse.
Yeah. which is a little bit similar to the Thomas Frank at Tottenham situation. There does seem to have been a few of them this season. So yeah, and they're a horrible outfit, aren't they, Chelsea? You know, I've said in the past they are a club with zero redeeming features. There have been times this season where you sort of start to feel a little bit like sorry for some of the players or some of the fans, because it's like, what actually is this? What is this that they're trying to do? So I'll be interested to see what happens from them from here on. But yeah, if you could picture Mick McCarthy in a different kit saying it can, for me it was a Chelsea kit.
Go on, Keifer, any advance on any of them?
I was just saying to Adam before, I think Chelsea just fit into so many of these categories, so I'm trying to use them kind of sparingly. But I think it's just been such a bad season for them, you know, kind of everywhere you look. I mean, there's like fan protests before the games. People aren't happy with the ownership, the managers, obviously the links with Strasbourg. You know, Strasbourg fans aren't happy. So just everywhere you kind of look, with everywhere Blue Cove kind of got their hands on, no one is happy. And I think.
I'm right in thinking as well. Was there like some sort of early flag or tifo with Todd Bowley on it in the like early part of his tenure? Was there an idea that Chelsea maybe like saved him, or he'd saved Chelsea, or something along those lines?
I don't know. I mean, surely not.
Because I'm sure
there's been a flag with Abramovich on,
right?
But I don't
It could have been AI. But then, who knows? Maybe if any
Todd Bowley might
club are going to have
himself.
an AI banner,
Yeah.
tifo.
Yeah.
They also are wont to celebrate owners, as you've pointed out with Abramovich.
Todd Bowley himself may be AI.
Yeah,
I've got to bear that in mind. I've got to bear that in mind.
Has anyone ever seen him in person?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think Chelsea, for so many reasons that you guys have already said, there's just, you know, it felt like last season under Maresca, they kind of got themselves into it. I remember when they came to Anfield, they got themselves in a decent position in terms of the league, and then they dropped off, and they kind of looked like they taught themselves out of the title race almost. And the same's kind of happened this year, but obviously in terms of the Champions League race, I mean, even as far as kind of like because I think it's easy to forget. Rossini actually started. He did okay when he first went in. Even as kind of recently as 6 or 7 weeks ago, I remember thinking like the game at Anfield this weekend will be massive in terms of Champions League, and like Chelsea are now how many points behind us? 10 maybe. They've just absolutely dropped off a cliff, and to have that squad and to have gone through the managers they have, and to be so far off, not even just the Champions League places, but the European places in general, with still 3 games to go, I just think it's, it can get worse for Chelsea kind of everywhere you look. And it's not, I don't think there's anything that you can hang your hat on and be like, well, you can build on this for next season. There's no green shoots coming out of Chelsea anyway. You look, the players don't want to be there. It seems like, Enzo Fernandez is going to, the Open, Madrid Open. He's talking up going to Madrid as a city as well. So it just seems that like no one's really happy at Chelsea. It must be
wearing a Madrid kit.
Yeah, I mean,
sleeping in a Madrid pillowcase.
It just must be such a dire kind of place to be at the moment. But I think like Chelsea, I always look at them as that like kind of spoilt kids. Kind of everything they've always wanted they get. So I think now that even though they're throwing money at it and it still doesn't work, I think it makes that bit satisfying for everyone else to kind of look at.
Yeah, we'll move on then to our biggest rake step of the season. So the most self-inflicted blunder by a player, manager or club that immediately backfired in an obvious, laughable way. I've got one really strong contender for this. I'm excited to see it. Would you like to just go for it?
Yeah.
I was going to say Arsenal's training ground TikTok before Bournemouth. Like the fact that they even let that get filmed. after
very niche, but I like it.
After the all or nothing, it was all or nothing the documentary when they did the playing never walk alone for Arteta to then lose his head at Anfield and Anfield to swallow him up and spit him out. Just having that and having them film that and put it on social media for all to see, I honestly couldn't comprehend it. And I was sat watching that Bournemouth game being like, this will be the most hilarious way they could possibly, lose this league or lose this game or whatever, having done that beforehand.
That's a great shout. I think it probably they get away with it if they go on and win the title from here, unfortunately. But it is a good shout. I've got 3. I'll sort of do them in a little bit of what I think is reverse order. There's 2 quite obvious ones. One is just Ange Postecoglou to Forest. It was so mad, and you've got a club, you've been playing a certain way, and then you change it that much, but also with a man who is as relentlessly Ange Postecoglou as Ange Postecoglou. There's never been anyone who's more Ange Postecoglou than Ange Postecoglou. So he comes in 100 miles an hour of Postecoglou. Everyone gets a big bowl of Postecoglou, and then everyone goes, I'm not sure about this.
Not sure about this, mate.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it is.
And that's within about 5 days.
Yeah, everyone's just gone, fuck me, he's not messing about. Well, no, he's not. He's Ange Postecoglou. This is what he does. Then I think you've got to really go a long way, but I think someone has to go a long way more than Igor Tudor. Not him himself, but the appointments, the decision to bring him in from Tottenham
so wild.
is so wild, and the way in which they went about it. So I think you've got to really graft to not go with Igor Tudor.
It's like the I would never be able to prove this, but the hill that I think I will die on without being able to prove it is that I think Thomas Frank would have got something from the North London derby, because it was just after Arsenal dropped points the game before, hadn't it? And it was just like, bring in this new fella who's never managed in the Premier League before and let Arsenal walk all over you.
He took 4 points from City home and away, Thomas Frank. But my actual one, the most self-inflicted blunder by a club that has backfired in an obvious and laughable way over the course of this is Newcastle's summer. I cannot get beyond Newcastle's summer, where they've now ended up. They just lost their minds over the Isak stuff and just could not conceive of how he could be allowed to leave. That, by the way, it's had ramifications for Liverpool as well. Yeah. Their rake step has actually damaged Liverpool.
I just thought of a plague on both your houses from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that transfer was a plague on both the houses, wasn't it? Newcastle and Liverpool.
Yeah, but we've at least ended up with the player, and hopefully next season he's going to prove, and we've already seen enough to go, he's really good. We know he's really good. They go through all of this, end up with a 29-year-old who got injured, like Isak, dead quick, then had to go to AFCON, and who they fundamentally decided is shit. And they're picking a Sula, who was at the club, who scores against us in the second game of the season. Yeah. They're picking a Sula ahead of him now, and he's now 30. So they've spent 55 million on this 30-year-old who they've decided is fundamentally rubbish. But that's almost in a way nothing compared to the fact that they spent 75 million on a lad who came in, looked great. Yeah. The manager couldn't work out how to press with him or continue to use him.
Voltemada.
Yeah.
I loved the Voltemada era of the season.
It was great.
I enjoyed the Voltemada bit.
And he comes across really likeable, and it's going all pretty well. And then he scores an own goal in the first North East derby in the league in years. And they get beat 1-0. And that just, his season falls apart from there. It results in Eddie Howe playing him in fucking centre mid, turning him into another Joel Linton. playing Anthony Gordon up top, which was an option he could have done all the way through anyway from minute one. So they've ended up now with these two footballers, one of whom they paid 55 million for, and Brentford must have been absolutely laughing their heads off as they bowled him out the door. They've got the other one who I think there is a definite player in Voltemada, but it's not going to happen now for Newcastle, so he's going to end up being sold on a cut price deal. It has, as I say, it's had knock-on effects for Liverpool and for Alexander Isak, but it is absurd. They're going to finish in the bottom half. They were in the Champions League. It has absolutely stitched them because they weren't prepared to accept a world record fee, a British record fee for the footballer who was 26 and wanted to go. Honestly, lads, just run the club better. Have a plan and go from there. So my one on this, honestly, I am so all in on the Newcastle madness.
Yeah, it looks like they're keeping Eddie Howe as well, which is another nice fault. It sounds like it, yeah. The Saudi have basically come out and backed him in his project, so the wildness continues. I like the idea that they sit down in the summer and there's Liverpool interest in Tony Gordon and they think about digging their heels in and go, lads, remember what happened last summer? Just honestly get that done. Let's just have that wrapped up by the end of July, shall we?
I think it's honestly, I think you look at it and it's so mad. And as I say, the fact that they've just based, and maybe if there wasn't another manager, they could, but it looks like they've just decided to get nothing out of Wissa. Nothing. Like at least Voltemada, they had to go. I like the Voltemada stage of the season too. But
what are Brentford like at re-signing lads? They feel like one of those clubs that re-sign lads, but I think I have any actual proof of that.
From Bournemouth, was it?
Latra.
Yeah, he's done quite well, hasn't he?
Right.
But I mean,
he left under such a cloud, Wissa. I can't see that.
Wissa looked like,
as
as soon as he signed to Newcastle, he started to look physically like a kindly uncle. He looks really, really old now. All of a sudden, some spell got lifted as he left Brentford.
And he was out of contract this summer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If he had a year left on his deal.
Of course. God. Any advances on Adam for your biggest rake step of the
I mean,
season?
my one, I have gone for the double whammy of Tottenham getting rid of Thomas Frank, which was on the cards from quite early on. But I mean, maybe they waited too long, or maybe they shouldn't have done it. I kind of can't decide. But then appointing Igor Tudor, and do you know what? It is kind of linked to Liverpool in a way. You know, in my mind, that there was a bit of context around there because it was about at the time when walking away from the match, we were kind of saying, would it be knee jerk for us to sort of bullet slot, and it seemed to act as like it was like Tottenham were a couple of weeks ahead of us and they'd done that, and you could just see straight away that it's not always a good idea. It's not always a good idea. You can't always freshen things up, and especially if you're in that position where Tottenham were, where they weren't necessarily they were precarious, but you wouldn't have said in a million years that they were going to go down. But if you make the wrong choice there and then it really can become. It was like a split second of, oh my God, like the players are obviously looking at him and thinking, we are not having him at all. They can, I don't know what he's like. I've got no idea what he's like, but you can sort of sense when a dressing room can smell a bluffer. It was like, we are not having this at all. We're not having his words. You can see them looking at him on the touchline, and then sometimes it's TV editing doing this, but looking at each other a bit like, we're not going to do the thing.
The goalkeeper thing.
Remind me.
When he took, it was Kinski, the keeper. He
took
him
the
off.
young kid.
Yeah,
of course. When they were 10-0 down after 9 minutes or something, everybody had to turn over and watch that game. Stop what you're doing.
Is he now back in the team as well, Kinski?
Yeah, because the lad, Vicario's got injured, so
okay.
he's actually done all right.
I just saw a blonde keeper the weekend and thought, surely not.
I would have loved to have been to have been able to speak to an Atletico fan. It's like, for us in this country, it's amazing that Tottenham are still in the Champions League at this point. And you could just imagine a fan of the team they're going to play being like, no, I'm sure they'll be good. No.
We insist.
No. So yeah, that was, if there's ever been a rake step, then for me it was the timing of that, and actually the choice. It just goes to show sometimes for idiots like me who say this sort of thing that a refresh is not necessarily always a good idea. You have to actually think about what you're doing. There really should be a plan behind things. Otherwise, things can go from bad to worse.
They should do like a thing, like a rule where you can only have a certain amount of managers this season. Like 2 seconds is too many, basically. You can sack one and get a second, but then you have to keep the second, especially after what we've seen this season.
Or get the first one back.
Yeah, we get the first one back if you sack the second fella.
Thomas. Thomas, bell me back.
We made a mistake. Buyback clause. Go on then, Keifer. We've all gone different so far, so I'm interested to hear yours.
It was kind of keeping in the theme of Tottenham, but it's quite niche. But I went for when Thomas Frank, when they played Bournemouth and he picked up the Arsenal Cup.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was when
That is like quite the rake step.
Yeah, it was like, oh my, it felt like he had a bit of goodwill at that time. Like, obviously, it's still quite early in the season, you're buying into the project, but like, I mean, if there's one thing you
Why
can do.
did he do? What was the story?
It was that
They played
Arsenal
the week
there
before.
a few days before, and the cups were kind of left in the dressing room. I don't even know how that happened.
That's very strange.
And like, surely you would notice it at some point, filling your cup up, or did
People
someone...
have been keeping cups and bottles with Arsenal badges on them for far too long this season.
Well, I mean, I remember when I saw when it kind of did the rounds on Twitter on like the night of the game, and you think like, oh, it's just AI, or like that can't be true. Like you can't have done that,
No.
And you kind of just dismiss it. And then I remember it came up on Getty, and I was like, oh my god, like he's actually done that. And I think
I love the idea that people thought there was something sinister behind it. So like he'd deliberately taken this Arsenal Cup into the stadium with him to be like, I'm going to make a point to the ownership or something here. Like, what does that even mean?
But it's just insane. I mean, I know football's obviously so tribal, isn't it? But like, and people maybe shouldn't get upset over a cup, but like, it was just unbelievable. It was such a small mistake, but like, I think it just sums up Tottenham, doesn't it? It sums up Tottenham this season. It probably sums up Thomas Frank's time at the club. Like, kind of everything he tried to do, he just couldn't do right. I mean, he couldn't even take a cup of water without doing it wrong. So I think that just probably sums up the troubles they've had.
Do we want to come to a common solution on that one, or do we want to just leave it? Because we've all gone for a different answer. So
Let the audience decide.
Yeah, let the audience decide. You can decide on the Mick McCarthy at Cam moment as well, because I think we didn't come to a common answer on that. But we'll move on to the Gary McAllister of the season. So the elder statesman who has defied expectations by still being class and influential deep into their career. Do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, I've got 4 thoughts of. Granit Xhaka.
Nice.
Casemiro, who it's worth saying everyone thought was no longer a going concern.
Yeah,
2
left him
seasons
to
ago.
didn't it?
Yeah, was strongly linked to go. And then there's 2, and I think both Xhaka and Casemiro, I think Xhaka feels like he's got a teeny bit off the boil now. But I think Xhaka and Casemiro both had really good seasons. And then there's 2, one because he was literally signed in January, and the other one, I think, have come to the party quite late, which is also quite Gary McAllister. Pascal Gross at Brighton, who I think has been really integral to Brighton getting on this slightly mad run that they've been on until this weekend. And then big Thomas Souček at West Ham, who I think as West Ham have began to clamber the way back into looking like a football team. Nuno's been picking Souček and he's been a big part of it. And he, I don't know the man in any way, but he really comes over unspeakably sound, Souček. Whenever I see him speak about anything in public, I find him immensely likeable. Please don't tell me anything if you've got some evidence of him not being likeable. I don't want to know.
He was at the London Marathon recently, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Supporting West Ham workers who were running, which I just think is class as well.
Stuff like that, honestly, all the time. There's always something else where it seems like Thomas Souček is immensely likeable. So I'm just biased towards Thomas Souček because I think he's just always come over as sound. And as I say, I don't want to hear anything to the contrary. Like, I quite like my world.
He's a physically unlikely footballer as well, which is always nice.
I like them.
Doesn't look like he should be a footballer,
No.
and like he's pleased that he is. Despite all this. I love footy
Ungainly,
players.
which is a word you don't use in any other walk of life really besides football. I think he's ungainly. I can't believe you've not gone with Jordan Henderson. I've gone with Jordan Henderson as someone who was formerly accused of being the chairman of the Jordan Henderson fan
I
club.
really like Henderson, but I think that you've watched Brentford go past him over the course of the season. So I think he really helped in the early part of the season. I think he helped with Andrews. I think he's still got a role to play, but they've been picking him less and less and less as the season's wore on, which is quite not Gary McAllister. Again, one of the things that Gary was, renowned for in that run was, Gary McAllister had a good season, and then suddenly, as March turned to April to May, he was the greatest footballer on the planet by 1,000,000 miles. So you've got to, you've got to bear that in mind. I think so. Yeah, I think there's a few there, but I understand why you'd say Henderson.
Who's on your shortlist, Keifer? Have you got a superstar?
Yeah, I went for Henderson, and kind of for what Neil says in terms of the early parts of the season. I mean, I have Brentford as kind of favourites to go down. I certainly thought they'd be involved in that kind of scrap. We talked about before that losing Visser and stuff, and how good he was there. They lose Mbeumo as well, so they lose Frank. And I think that was the first time probably since they've been in the Premier League, where they've had such a high turnover of players. I think you look at Brighton, you almost come to expect it that like the model is greater than the kind of the workers and the players and stuff. But with Brentford, I think it was really interesting to see, do they kind of have that sustainability to go again? And I think Henderson, obviously where he'd obviously gone to Saudi Arabia, then to Ajax, and then to kind of come back into the Premier League and play an important role in the early kind of stage of the season, and kind of get safety boxed off quite early. And I know they've been on a bit of a mad run recently. I think they hadn't won in 7 or 8 games before they played West Ham at the weekend. But I think the fact that they're still in and around the European places, it shows how good they were in the first half of the season. And I don't think Keith Andrews is as successful this season if he doesn't have someone like a Jordan Henderson, a manager on the pitch, someone to kind of guide the younger players, through those games. So, and I certainly, I think for me as well, looking at kind of Henderson, and I mean, I know he left Liverpool too early, but I didn't think he kind of had that. I look at him this season, and I think we could definitely be in and around the Liverpool squad. He's better than Rosario Endo, I think.
And after he went to Saudi and then Ajax, you sort of think that Premier League thing's
to come back and go to that intensity again.
You don't expect that to happen, do you?
So to have done that, I think it kind of almost made his Liverpool exit a bit more disappointing, because it was like, well, he's still, what is he, 35, 36? He's obviously still got the legs, he's still got the quality, and he's still obviously an important player in the dressing room. So I think he's done really well, and obviously he's probably going to go to the World Cup. So I think if you look at where his career was heading 18 months ago, he was getting booed by England fans. No one really kind of claimed him. Liverpool fans were disappointed with the way he left.
All that Ajax stuff with the press. Every time I saw him speaking in the press, I was like, oh, why is he arguing with everyone?
Yeah,
it was mad.
It just seemed like he just absolutely kind of flopped the last stage of his career, but he seems to have turned it around really nicely. So yeah, I think fair play to him. I think to turn around at that stage of his career is pretty well done.
2 votes for Hendo.
I've got 2 different ones actually. Similar in a way, Milner, for a couple of things. I liked the fact that he tried
injuring every Liverpool player in the away game.
That's one of my reasons. I like the fact that he tried to kick some sense into us. We needed some horrible, and he showed us that. So yeah, that was one of the reasons. The other one is for getting the appearance record from Gareth Barry, even though it was just with substitute appearances, which apparently shouldn't count. So I enjoyed that. My other person, though, and someone's probably going to tell me he's only 24 now, but is Bernardo Silva. For the reasons I was talking about before, it's a horrible season. So I've picked somebody who I hate the most. Because I don't
believe he's leaving yet. I'm going to need to see him in another kit. I feel like he's done this thank you letter over and over again.
Just to annoy me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 2 or 3 seasons in a row where he said he was going to leave just to annoy me when he took it back. However, there is a genuine. I genuinely do think that he's a great pick for this. City have brought through a lot of really good young players this season, and he just seems to have grown into that elder statesman role. I think he seems sound despite everything, I think probably my favourite opposition player ever is Modric, and I think you've got a bit of the Modriches about Silva. I think he can keep doing. You can ask him to do whatever. He can come on at any stage. He doesn't moan. He'll do anything on the field. My German friend says that everybody always likes it when there's a German word for something. Freigeist is an artist amongst machines, and I think that you're more and more seeing that with Bernardo Silva. Yeah, so he's my pick, just a sort of out of left field one.
Yeah, City would be worse without him as well, so we'll all continue to pray
City
we see him.
Will be worse.
I just want to see him play with Simeone as well, because I just think that would be a laugh. They're 2 really bad fellas, so it would be nice for them to be together. We'll move on then to sausage of the season, the individual who's made a consistent show of themselves on or off the pitch through poor decisions, performances, or general nonsense. I've gone with Ruben Amorim.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a slightly left field one, so I will explain it. I think even in watching Carrick's United at the weekend, they are not a good football team. Liverpool just happened to be more passive and worse, both at the same time, which was some challenge, considering how passive and bad United are. All I hear from United fans ever is Ruben Amorim did build this squad, and then I look at their squad and be like, what is the reward for that? Because it's still crap. So I'm not giving him any credit for that. And I feel like if you're going to play negative football and everything you say in the press is going to be negative, I'm kind of wondering what you're saying to the players behind the scenes as well, for them to play so awfully and for them to switch off so much. So
I like it as a shout.
I feel like Michael Carrick has exposed how much of a sausage Ruben Amorim is.
I like it as a shout. I think it's a strong one. I've got a couple that I'm into. I think Rosinia.
Yeah.
As sausage his head off.
Yeah. Liam was sausage.
Yeah, Liam was sausage. Sausage his head off from the minute he got in. the manage is age men thing and all of that sort
The
of
ball
nonsense.
stuff, I've got the Rossinha, just because of the ball stuff, when they
Respect the
they
ball,
were
yeah.
huddling around the ball and stuff.
Oh Lord!
Yeah.
It was just,
Good
just
Lord.
insane.
There's so many of his quotes that I'm now not sure which ones are real and which ones aren't. Like there was the point where he said
You
like,
could call me, you said anything.
yeah,
Anything.
There was one where he'd said his dad pronounces the surname differently to how he pronounced it, and I was like, what, you have the same surname. Like,
Gotta
I was
agree.
like, yeah.
Also,
You
he's your
haven't got
dad.
that. What? You've got
What have
nothing.
you got?
And I think that there's a sub sausage of Romero, who I think in everything, the way he comes over, everything he does, like I think that I like him. I liked him, and probably could still be convinced. Like if we suddenly bought Romero, I'd go, well, he's got these qualities because he has, but then he's also got this other pathological set of traits that he is determined to exhibit at every opportunity. And now he's ended up injured. The poor lad, so probably will get to play in the World Cup.
He's very much in the Degsy Lovren Lifetime Achievement Award category.
Yeah, if only we had that one this year, I think he'd win it by a mile. It's just all got a bit. I think it's mad with him. So I think Rossinha is just untouchable as a sausage. I think I think everyone's just gonna have to sort of roll with the punches on it. But Romero, I think in terms of on the pitch saucosity, has gone out. He went above and beyond. Some would say he went above and beyond over the course of the campaign.
Came out the skin, if you will.
Came out the skin. Yeah,
He was well above his ex sauce.
Ex-sauce. Yeah.
Expected sausages.
Yeah.
Who have you got as an untouchable sausage, Adam?
Oh, do you know what? This is the one that I didn't write anybody down for.
Right.
So I've sort of been tossing different things apart because there's people that I don't like that have done really well this season, but I sort of don't feel.
So yeah.
I don't really feel. So you don't feel like you can pick Arteta. You don't feel like you can pick Declan Rice. I don't like either of those men. When I might not be giving an answer here actually. When you were talking about Amarim, I was thinking that sounds like Slot. So I wasn't putting any Liverpool players or managers on this list, and I'm not prepared to start moaning now. But I do sort of think there is a shout for Arnie Slot in the sausage of the season. Sorry, everyone.
Adam ruining all of that fun here. Go on, Keifer, save us.
Just Rossinha. I kind of did it on moments, and it was just that Villa one they were doing with the ball.
Oh God, honestly.
And it was like, I felt again, it was one of those things where I saw the clip at first, and you think like have they done that on purpose? But then it's like when Rossinha comes out, and it's like they're respecting the ball, like because the referee was in the middle for one of them, wasn't he? And the referee just looked like completely bewildered as to what was going on. And to be fair, with Rossinha, I don't think he got a bad rap, but like I think because of what he said off the pitch, like it just didn't help him on the pitch in terms of performances, and that ultimately kind of led to him sacking. Because I actually thought, I mean, it was always going to be a massive jump from Strasbourg to Chelsea. It's just a completely different kettle of fish. But I actually didn't think he was a bad manager. I think he was out of his depth at Chelsea. But like, if you're having a young squad, could he have been the man to grow with them? But I think when you've got a dressing room full of superstars on big wages, big contracts, and he's coming out and saying things about manage and protecting the ball, it's just never going to end well, is it? So I think there's so many. I mean, he was only there for what was it, 3 months maybe,
Yeah.
and there's probably 10 or 15 things you could list that he just did, which were just a bit cringe and probably just shortened his time there by a week.
24 pack of sausages in 3 months.
It's certainly stopped any clubs hiring Jake Humphreys anytime soon. We've seen what that would be like.
Has he been on the High Performance podcast yet, Liam Rossinha?
I'm sure that will be coming soon.
That's got to be his first break silence from Chelsea, isn't it?
Hey, say what you like though, he did age those men. Well, that's all I'm saying. They aged by at least 3 months, so fair play to him. We'll move on to some more serious awards since Adam has given us a lovely segue by being so serious with his pick
Serious
there.
and horrible and miserable.
Serious and horrible, miserable. We'll go for our sleeper hit of the season. So I'll come to you first, Adam, with your seriousness.
Sleeper hit of the season. Right. So it said consistently excellent. I think it was you, wasn't it, Josh? So I've written consistently excellent is a strange thing to say this season because I don't feel like even the top two haven't been consistently excellent this season. So yeah, this is one where I've gone for Brentford because I don't think anybody would have said at the start of the season, in the first few weeks of the season, that appointing the free kick coach was going to go well. It seemed like that I think everybody was able to accept that the club had been set up well beforehand, but it all did feel a little bit like Frank-centric. So yeah, if you once you're a month into the season and things are sort of starting to look a bit wobbly, you kind of think, they would have been one where, I was saying the opposite about Tottenham before. You'd never have said Tottenham to be relegated. You probably would have said Brentford could definitely be going down in, I don't know, October or something if you'd asked everybody then. So yeah, and all the things people have said about Henderson. I don't think Keller has been mentioned yet, but it's been really brilliant to see him have the season he's had. So yeah, they're also, I guess they just are a bit sleepery, Brentford. They would struggle to not be under the radar. I think whatever they were doing, they're quite low key as a club. So yeah, that's who I've gone for that.
Sorry, I didn't give the explainer sentence there as well. So it's a player, team, or even signing that flew under the radar, but ended up being consistently excellent. So Adam's got a good shout with Brentford in general there. I love that Keller now has a penalty saving stat as well. He's the only keeper to have saved multiple penalties. I think it's 3 in the Premier League this season, which is good for him. Who's your sleep hit of the season? Yeah.
So I've got 5, but I think I've just, whilst we've been talking, and the consistently excellent part has sort of whittled them, I think. So the 5 I originally had written down, all players, DNCL, Harry Wilson, Morgan Gibbs-White, Ryan Cherky and James Garner. I think possibly Wilson, Gibbs-White and Cherky all rule themselves out, because I think Wilson was excellent until February and has maybe just gone off the boil. And Morgan Gibbs-White and Ryan Cherky have finished the season really strongly. And I can't quite believe exactly how deeply Evertonian this is, and I might have to go and hang some copheads to the back of the Royal Blue Mersey given this. I think I end up with Calvert-Lewin and Garner. Now, obviously, Calvert-Lewin no longer plays for Everton. I think he's been great for Leeds, and I think he's been great from the minute they've got him fit and got him playing, and he's been exactly what that Leeds team needed. I don't think they stay up if they don't buy him. Because I think he just gave I think now Okafor's come to the boil a bit more, scored some goals, but I think they build the whole attack around Calvert-Lewin's skill set, and everything works off him. And I think he's been really, really good. I've always liked him anyway as a player. And I think that James Garner is, whenever I've seen Everton this season, I've never seen him put in less than a 7. And I've seen him put in a couple of 8s and 9s. I think he actually, one of his poorest performances of the season was when we went to the Hill Atkinson, because I think he just puts too much energy into the start of both halves, and he can't keep going in quite the same way. Like, he wins a couple of really big tackles, but that ends up being a bit counterproductive, I think. But I think he's been really good all the way through the season. So none of those players really, I mean, Gibbs-White and Cherky have been talked about a lot. But I think I'm probably just settling on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because I think if there's one player genuinely who is responsible for where a team is in the league the most, I think it could just be Calvert-Lewin.
So this is why that's a good segue into mine, because I've gone Martin Zubimendi, partly because bit of a spoiler in the Young Player of the Season and Player of the Season award for me. I don't think there's like an Arsenal player who's been like exceedingly excellent above everyone else. I think they're a really good team. Like, Arteta's made them into a well-oiled machine, but I think the thing that he's plugged in that's been so crucial for them in allowing Declan Rice to maybe even be in that Player of the Season conversation, because he's been able to step a bit further forward and have a bit less responsibility going backwards and a bit less responsibility in possession and things like that, has been Martin Zubimendi. So I've gone with him as my sleeper. How about you, Keifer?
I've gone for player. I've gone Danny Welbeck.
Nice, yeah.
Like Brighton again, I think, because reading the other day with kind of what could happen in the final weeks of the season, they could end up getting Champions League. 6 could end up being eligible for that spot. And I think until last year, I mean, he might still be, but the highest scoring Englishman in the Premier League, I think Calvert-Lewin maybe might have overtaken him now. But he's just one of those players. I was actually chatting to someone about him the other day, where like when he left Arsenal, he went to Watford, didn't he? And he went down during, I think, the 1920 season. It just kind of felt like his career was just going to peter out a little bit. But he just completely reinvented himself at Brighton, and he's one of those players, whenever you check the Brighton score, Welbeck just scored again. And it's kind of like, you just expect it. And I think for the age he's at, 35, 36, coming to the end of his career, he just seems to be kind of, I don't know, epitomise what Brighton is about. So I think now he's got a chance of going to the World Cup, which is. I
love that, by the way. I really want them to just go full unk at the World Cup with like Welbeck and Henderson and all them. Yeah.
It's but even to be in the conversation is mental, I think. But I think whatever Brighton do achieve in these kind of final weeks of the season, they're probably going to be playing European football. I think a large part of that is down to Danny Welbeck, and he's one of them. A bit like Calvert-Lewin, I think. At Arsenal, he was a player where he was just never fit. He had a few decent moments. He scored that header against Leicester. The year they nearly won the league, but he just felt like he never kind of kicked on to what he was capable of. And similar to Calvert-Lewin, maybe I think a change of scenery over the last couple of years has done him really well. He's almost completely reinvented himself. So I think I would struggle to look past him. I think he's been just a constant performer. I don't think anyone's pulled up loads of trees in the Premier League, to be fair, this season. I think it was quite a difficult one to kind of nail down one. But if I was to think, it would definitely be Welbeck.
Right, we'll rattle through these last two because they're fairly self-explanatory, aren't they? So we'll start with the actual young player of the season. I'll come to you first, Neil, just because you've usually got a few options. I wonder if some of us will have one of those options.
So I'm my four, and I had a good think about this and actually looked at some data, took it semi-seriously. Kroupy, Hinshelwood, O'Reilly and Hall. I'd go with O'Reilly. I just don't think you can argue with scoring a brace in a cup final from left-back. I think he's looked so impressive over the course of the campaign. I think Kroupy's looked unbelievably exciting. I think Hinshelwood looks smart as onions, really like him. And I think Hall's looked like a really good left back, but I just sort of can't get beyond O'Reilly. And it can be annoying that he plays for Manchester City. I'm annoyed he plays for Manchester City. He's a 6'4" horse, and I think he's great.
Yeah, I've gone with Nico O'Reilly. Any advances on either of them?
That's exactly what I wrote. You can't that scoring a brace in a cup final. That you know, I think he is also favourite to win this actual award. I'm interested. It's funny, you sort of can't tell sometimes with City fullbacks, Pep fullbacks. And other players as well, when they go to play for their national teams, it doesn't quite work. So I'm quite interested to see what happens in the summer, because I think he probably will go to the World Cup. But I think he is a shoe-in.
I think if you were to ask me 6 weeks ago, I probably would have said Kroupy. I had a look at, just kind of similar to Neil, I took this one a bit seriously, but I looked, he's got the most goals ever from a teenager in a debut Premier League season. He's got 12 goals. He's done really well for Bournemouth. He kind of, again, he's just helped them kind of get to that next level, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of teams kind of queuing up for him. His first full season there as well, but I think, you know, probably since the cup final, the last 6-7 weeks, I think O'Reilly's just been a different beast, hasn't he? And I think you need those players, you know, in the running, don't you? I think it's normally someone's like your Bernardo Silva or someone, but that passing of the guard seems to have taken place now, and O'Reilly's grabbed it with both hands. And the fact is, he isn't even a fullback naturally; he's a midfielder, so he's been brilliant.
Unfortunately, we'll have to give an honourable mention to Kobbie Mainoo, who, without sausage of the season, Ruben Amorim would probably be a shoo-in for that award as well. So, player of the season, just to round off then. I've gone with Antoine Semenyo because he's my Luis Diaz should win the Ballon d'Or and Harry Kane shouldn't, over Erling Haaland shouldn't be the player of the season, and Antoine Semenyo should.
Wow, I like it. I like it. I mean, but Paul Michael Elise, you've got him coming and going.
Fuck him.
Yeah, you've got him coming and going.
We don't need him to win that because it makes the price go up.
Semenyo's on my list. I've got three others. Big Declan and Bruno Fernandes, but they're both baddies. So
It's been that sort of season.
It has been that sort of season, but I want to go with Thiago
wonderful to
Igor. I want to go with Thiago Igor.
Nice,
Who I think has been just phenomenal, and I think he's shown a real ability in front of goal, shown unbelievable balance. I think he's, you know, it could have gone badly wrong for him off the back of, let's say, it was a long injury layoff as well, make that point. So I'm very Thiago Igor. I think he might end up top scorer, might not. Could be touch and go on that one in the end. But I think he's been so impressive, and I think it's interesting to see someone playing number 9. I don't think he could necessarily play number 9 for a team who dominate possession. I don't know if that'd work for him, but I've really thought he's great all season. I've never seen him and not thought he looks like a real footballer.
A lot of Brentford love in this show.
As I say, horrible season of monsters. I think my thinking about football has become more abstract the older I've got, and I've talked about kind of the Klopp era being summed up by Robertson running. I feel like this sort of era of football, if I think about it in 10 years' time, will probably be summed up by a Gabriel header. Gabriel's teeth, Gabriel's horribleness, that has been the story probably of the season. He is, you know, people moan about Arteta and how the team's built in his image. I think as much as in Arteta's image, it's built in Gabriel's image. So yeah, I think if anyone sums up this season, if anybody deserves to win this player of the most horrible season, I'm giving it to Gabriel.
I've got an image of you like having a nightmare where you're trying to headbutt him, but you're just about missing him, like just scraping.
I'm squinting. It's just teeth.
Go on, Keifer, you round us off.
It pains me to say, but I think I'd just go Bruno Fernandes. And I think when you're kind of giving out these awards, there's always a bit of recency bias. You take kind of the last 6 weeks hold major stock compared to probably the first 6 weeks of the season, but I just think he's had the numbers to back it up. He's played in an absolutely dreadful team. I mean, you think how bad they were in the first half season under Amiron, but just technically, he was at the game on Sunday, and he's just a joy to watch is the wrong word, because when he's playing against Liverpool, it's not. But just in terms of like when you appreciate a footballer, I mean, some of the passes that does one in the second half in front of the Stretford, and he just plucks the ball out of the sky, and he's got 2 men up his back kind of thing, but he just no problem for him turns put a cross in. I just think he's an unbelievable footballer, and like I think over the last 6-7 years, you know, he probably could have got into any team in the world. And I mean, what would his level have looked like if he played for a City? You know, even if he played for a Liverpool or a Real Madrid? I mean, the numbers he'd probably put up is frightening. But you know, instead he's been with Højlund and Sesko and all these kind of other bums. So I mean, it is. I think to have that level of consistency when you're playing with a team that has probably been one of the least consistent over the last couple of years in terms of they get kind of Jekyll and Hyde, don't they? But I think this year's obviously been probably his best in English football, and you know, you'll probably end up breaking Henry's assist record. I think he needs 2 more. So if he does that, I think there's only one winner for the Player of the Year award.
I have to go for a cry after this one. A bad season, full of baddies. You can do some
monsters.
good, full of monsters. Yeah, you can do some good though, and stick it to the monsters by going and voting for the Embodiment of Liverpool FC award over on the Anfield Wrap. I should have the link for that really, but I wasn't prepared enough for this show. Besides all those picks, so nice one. Let us know what you thought about those in the comments below as well. If you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you get us on social media, nice one to all the lads here. Up the Reds.